Come, I invite you to imagine with me. Close your eyes for a moment. Indulge me. And with your eyes closed, I'm going to say a couple of phrases. All you have to do is allow those phrases to give you an image. Ready? Close your eyes. The first phrase is, the line is busy. The line is busy. The second phrase, we've lost power. We've lost power. Now let those images that came to your mind stay with you, and we'll come back to them soon. Today, I want to offer you a new way to think about vision. Not just the kind of vision you measure on an eye chart in a doctor's office, but the type of vision in a deeper sense that is about insight, not just eyesight. See, a year ago, my own vision in every sense of the word was shaken. I was diagnosed with cancer. At that moment, my heart sank. I thought about life. I thought about death. I thought about my children. I thought about my family. I thought about every side effect I'd heard about. Nausea, fatigue, possible depression, frustration, hair loss, all the side effects that run through your mind when you think about cancer. I sat with the doctors. They walked me through my treatment plan. Physiotherapy, chemotherapy, radiation. It was frightening, to say the least, and it was challenging. In fact, some of those side effects still remain today, reminding me of my need to remain strong. However, one side effect that I didn't expect was the acceleration of the degeneration of my eyesight. So now, I was dealing with a condition of cataracts. My father had cataracts, so I associated this with aging. I had barely crawled out of the fog of cancer, and suddenly my literal vision started to cloud. Street signs were blurry, light scatters into halos. Even a simple menu at times is hard for me to read. I've even turned to my young son to say, read me the directions on the medical bottle. It was challenging, to say the least. For me, I had to learn what cancer was all about, but I had to learn what cataracts was all about. When I think about cataracts, I know that I'm not the only one that goes through this. According to the World Health Organization, more than 2 billion people suffer from cataracts worldwide. And this is an aging issue, but it's also an issue that does affect a lot of people. It's frightening, and it's disruptive. Cataracts are the clouding of the eye's natural lens, and instead of a clear lens that allows focus and light to pass through, cataracts turns blurry, Colors fade, and if left untreated, it will cause blindness. Most cataracts, because they come slowly with age and happen much later, they pose as a physical reminder that time is passing. And for many people, they are disruptive and even frightening. Yet, with today's advancement, a surgeon can remove that cloudy lens and replace it with a clear artificial one. In just a matter of minutes, vision becomes clear again. A few months ago, I sat with my eye surgeon for the first time, and she pulled out what looked like a literal catalog. There were so many options. She asked me, "What kind of lens do you want to see the rest of your life through?" There was monofocal, which would allow me to see vision, but at one distance. I would have to choose near, far, or in between. There was toric, which would correct astigmatism as well as focus, but again, I'd have to choose one lens, near, far, or in between. There was multifocal, which would allow me to see near, far in one lens, but that also came with a lot of challenges. So there were a lot of options. This was becoming harder than picking a university major. That is when cataracts stopped being just a diagnosis for me. My surgeon saw the look of confusion on my face, and she said, "Salima, choose the lens that serves you best." And I said, wow, that's something to think about. Choose the lens that serves you best. I realized that we are all walking around life with our inner lenses that are clouded by fear, old stories, biases, grief, and habits that no longer serve us. In that exam room, the question stopped being medical and became about life itself. For the first time, I was being consciously asked to design how I would like to see every day ahead. That thought was profound for me, because that question is not just for patients in an eye clinic. That question is for all of us. Every day, whether we notice it or not, we are choosing the lens we look through. We are choosing this vision a la carte menu. We can all choose to look through a lens of fear or curiosity, a lens of scarcity or gratitude, a lens that zooms in on flaws, or one that recognizes beauty and opportunity. Our personal lens shapes our beliefs, our biases, our emotions, and our experiences. It shapes what we notice, how we react, and how we define reality itself. Let us return to that exercise in the beginning. If you need to close your eyes again to get that image back, go ahead. So that first phrase was, "The line is busy." Some of you may have pictured a short line in a coffee shop, 5, 6, maybe 7 people. Others may have envisioned a very long line, hundreds, standing outside a concert, wrapped around the building. And some of you may have gone completely somewhere entirely different. You may have heard of that old landline phone that sits on the table. And you may have heard the beeping telling you the line is busy, hang up and try again later. Same words, completely different images. Now think back to the phrase, "We've lost power." Losing power, for some of us, may have triggered the loss of power in an electrical sense. No light. Now, perhaps it triggered a panic of how will we charge our mobiles? Or how much charge do I have on my mobile? For some, "we've lost power" symbolizes a defeat, a weakness, a loss of status. Same words, different images, and understanding. A completely different sense of urgency, inconvenience, and even fear shaped by where we come from, what we've lived through, and what we've gone through in our lives, our experiences. See, our minds don't just interpret reality. They don't just record reality. They filter, they fill in the gaps, they predict, they create a story. Neuroscience backs this up beautifully. Research Friston and Picard in their article, Predictions, Perceptions, and a Sense of Self, talk about the brain not just being a passive camera recording what it's seeing, but instead, they call the brain an artist. An artist. Because it is recording, it's creating, it's predicting, it's constantly interpreting and filling in according to what it relates to. So that is why two people who witness the same situation can come out with two very, very different interpretations, because they are simply looking through different lenses created by different histories. So like an artist, it is creating. This is where the cataract metaphor becomes super, super powerful. Because once you understand that perception is not pure, it is filtered, then you will understand that your lens is not fixed, it is changeable. This is important because this allows us to realize how much power we have. When we look at our life, we have to remember that you can choose the lens of what you want to look for. As I prepare for my upcoming cataract surgery, I imagine what life will feel like afterward. Clear edges, vivid colors, driving without halos. I can read at that point without worrying about where my glasses are or the blur. I realized if a surgeon can walk in, remove a cloudy lens, and restore clear sight in minutes, what might be possible if we approached our inner lens with that same seriousness and intention? There is no surgical procedure for our beliefs and fears. There is no operating room where someone can remove years of self-doubt or cultural bias. However, we do have choices. Every single day, we are making choices. We can choose to look through the lens of patience or impatience, through the lens of optimism or quiet despair. See, cancer forced me to confront my mortality. Cataracts forced me to confront my perspective. I stopped seeing my challenges as obstacles, and I started seeing them as invitations. Invitations to view life through the lens of compassion for myself, gratitude for the people around me, and hope for what still lies ahead. See, the facts of my life did not change. So yes, cataract surgery is in my future, but the metaphor it has given me is far more valuable. It has reminded me that while we do not always choose what happens to us, we can choose the lens we look through. Sight, definitely expected after procedure. But vision, in that deeper sense, is available right now. We have the power to ask ourselves, what lens am I looking through at this moment? Is it the lens that serves me best? That choice is an individual one. We can blur our lives with frustration, or we can sharpen them with gratitude. We can darken our days with constant negativity, or we can brighten them with small, intentional acts of love. I did not choose cancer, and I did not choose cataracts, but I do choose how I respond. And that tiny shift in lens has already given me more clarity than any medical test could ever give me. So I will leave you with one final question. How much lighter, brighter, and happier would your life be if you just simply changed your lens? Thank you.